Okay, you guys, let's do this. It's going to be so professional. Like, so professional. Here we go. Welcome to the Life Support Podcast with your hosts, Michele, VanDusen, and Colson. A couple of clean comedians who support each other and others through comedy's wacky and winding roads. I hope you're ready. Get set. Let's go. Since podcasts have a catchy tune, we wrote this song for Michele and June. Clean comedians are best friends too. Oh, it's so good. And you never know what they'll say or do. Here we go, sing with me on Life Support, with Michele, who's really short. We'll have a ball, with June, who's really tall. They have fun, interviewing comedians on Life Support, with Michele, who's really short. Now it's time to start Life Support.
The Life Support Podcast is brought to you by the Hot Breath Comedy Network.
Wow, give yourself a round of applause. Woo! That was magic. Welcome to the award-winning Laugh Support Podcast. I'm your host, June Bug Colson, here with Michele with one L, Trisha's sister, Morgan's little sister, Rhonda Colson, Corey's friend. Don't call me Shelly. Michele with one L, Michele VanDusen. Here's a question. Why do I have to say Morgan's little sister? Aren't you the baby in your family?
I am. I'm the baby. I'm the baby of the family. No, don't actually. We could leave Morgan out. We could leave him out. Just keep it a girl thing. It's all good.
Because you would be Trisha's little sister too, and Morgan's little sister.
That is
also,
correct.
You've switched the camera, so the whole time that I'm looking, I'm going to be looking. There we go.
There you
okay,
go.
That's better. Now I'm looking at you. I'm going to do that cross-eyed. That's okay. It's a good look. All right. So your introduction, we got longer and longer. Now we're going to start to downsize again.
Yeah. We'll downsize it. I mean, you could. My sister is the oldest. I mean, if we want to go there, she is old. So.
So Michele, we had our first guest. Last episode was Tommy Moran. Things went a little haywire. We named the episode "Can You Hear Me Now?" There were Post-it notes. There are code words, apple potato. But I hope if people haven't listened to that episode yet, definitely jump back and check it out. Tommy was such a good guest to start our first season, or our first guest of the 5th season.
There you go.
Of Laugh Support. So I'm so glad that he was on here.
Yeah, that was a little bit crazy. So it'll be exciting to see who watches and can listen all the way through.
Yes. Yeah. Listen, you are true Laugh Support fans if you survive the whole episode with us. It's a little exciting. There's camera issues, there are audio issues. There's Tommy making fun of hillbillies with no teeth, even though my daddy hot dog doesn't have teeth, and I take that very personally. That was painful, but I'm so glad that he was on the show. So just a little bit ago, before we get started, we were talking about documentaries. Yeah. And I was saying the picture that's behind me that Tommy made, I watched that documentary, the Jonathan and Jesus, and I've got to go back and see who the artist is. There's like a cartoonist, sketch artist. I'm not sure what you would call him, but he does unique drawings, almost like comic book characters of Jesus.
Earl Music.
Not Earl Music, but
okay.
Earl was a great guest on our podcast for sure. But I was talking about that, so I'll have to go back and look and tell you who that actual artist was. But yes, Earl did. Michelle's holding up our mug. Earl did he did the what do you call it? Caricatures of myself and Michele for our podcast logo, which was super cool. But one thing that I think I failed to do last episode, because we do have a lot of people that watch us on YouTube, we're usually very mindful that not everybody's watching us. It's podcast, people are listening. And I forgot to describe the image that Tommy had made. I don't think that I gave much detail on that. So definitely, if you were just listening, go and fast forward to that point and look at this beautiful picture that he did of Jesus on the cross. I think I did point out that a lot of times it's very digestible, and this Hollywood version but what Tommy created was something that was a little more true to what Scripture says about how Jesus looks. So anyway, yesterday was a whole documentary day. And the other documentary that I watched was Home by Sunday. Have you watched that yet?
Home by Sunday? I may have, but I don't. So no, tell me all about it.
So it's about casting crowns.
Oh, okay.
And our friend Juwan DeVivo,
Yeah.
who plays guitar on Casting Crowns, who came to the Christian Comedy Association this year and led worship, did worship music. Obviously, he's on that documentary. And that was really cool to get to watch him on the documentary. So hopefully we'll have Juwan on the podcast this year. But Juwan, it's, if you don't know who Casting Crowns is, they're like Grammy winning and like 20 Dove award winning. I don't know the statistics, but it's like a ton of.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're probably one of the most successful Christian, contemporary Christian artists of all time at this point, as far as the number of albums and the number ones and all of the awards and things like that they received. But what's interesting about it is they are always home on Sunday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And so the documentary talked about like the logistics of this group that took off in the music industry, and how the leader of the band, the lead singer and all of that stuff, is a youth pastor. And he is still a youth pastor to this day. He is still home on Sundays and never left that job. Grammy award winning, Dove award winning, international tours, all of those things. And they've kept true to being home on Sunday to worship and to serve in their community. So it was really cool to get to see Juwan and his wife on there. And Juwan, so playing for, 50,000 people, sold out arenas and going to Rome and all of that stuff. Like, apparently that's old hat. That's something that's not hard for him. He's been doing that forever. So he chose comedy as a challenge and something to do during the downtime and something to just kind of feed that another creative side of him. And that was really cool. So you got to check it out. It's Home by Sunday. I watch it on Amazon Prime, and our friend Juwan is on there. And I know, like, what stood out about Juwan was being such a kind and such a humble person. Like, I didn't grow up in the Christian culture, or understanding the Christian music scene and those kind of things. So last night when I watched it, I was like, oh, I mean, I got the music industry and I got that they have a lot of songs, but I didn't get just how big, how huge that, that Casting Crowns is, and just the impact that they've had and those type of things. And I was thinking, but it makes sense. If you watch the documentary, it makes sense how unassuming he was, how just like there was nothing about him that walked in like, I am a world-renowned musician. He was just another comic at the event who happened to have a guitar and played music. It was so cool. So yeah, you got to check it out.
He knew he had to be home on Sunday and answer to any.
This is true. This is true. It's good that it's really good that our thing was like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Or he wouldn't have been there. But yeah, so I wanted to tell you about that. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm really excited about today. So I'm excited to find out more and the backstory to our guest. So it's a good day. It is a good day.
We're on to guest number 2, which is really exciting. I just showed my crazy fingernails.
And then you re-showed them. This
is ADHD at its best, though. Anybody who has
the solo layout. There we go.
They understand these fingernails of mine. If one tiny chip comes off the end of my fingernails, I will set. So I don't mean to be rude while we're interviewing, but I will be setting and trying to. I can't mentally handle it, Michelle. I can't. Yeah. But we're wired differently, aren't we? As comedians, we're wired
very much so. I already did all mine, so we're good.
Well, okay. So I wonder if our guest today is somebody who is wired a little bit differently. Can you tell us, VanDusen, who's on the show?
Oh, the answer is definitely yes. Yes, I can tell you. Oh, you want me to do it now? Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. So our guest is a Christian comedian based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. He's been able to use a wide variety of topics, ranging from strange observations like your nails to growing up in a small town with his weird family, and why he despises people who dip French fries into milkshakes, which we're going to talk about that one because anyway, he reaches a vast array of people. His intelligibly crafted material is a hit with all types of audiences. Make sure you go check out his dry bar special, Chicken Gone. Let's welcome to the Laugh Support Podcast, Brandon Young.
All right. Welcome, Brandon Young. Welcome to the Laugh Support Podcast. How you doing, friend?
I'm doing all right. How about you two? Are you guys good?
We're good. We are good. Michelle's got her screaming goat. I gave that to her for Christmas one year, and her family loves me for it.
Nice. Yeah, I chew my nails, so I'm not going to be showing my nails anytime.
Is that right? But do you chip
nails.
the paint off of them?
I don't paint my nails, so I don't have to worry about that.
If you put clear coat on it, then you'll be less.
Doesn't work for me. No, I've tried that. It's supposed to be like really bad smelling stuff you're supposed to put on your nails to help you stop chewing your nails. I don't remember what it's called. Anyway, it doesn't work for me, so
I think it's called toe jam. You're supposed to just
Michelle. Ooh, Michelle, no, don't give her. Don't.
This is not a clean podcast anymore. Thanks, Michelle.
It's I think it's French fries and dairy. I don't know.
Yeah, it's potatoes and dairy. That'll get me to stop.
We try not to encourage Michelle when she gets gross like that. We're just going to move forward. I have a feeling that the title of this podcast is going to be Nail Biter. That's going to be it. It's a nail biter. It's a nail biter. So Brandon, all right. So welcome to Laugh Support. We talked a little bit backstage about the origin of the podcast and what we kind of do here. Now, I don't know a lot about you or your journey, so I'm excited to learn.
That's why I'm on season 5 and not season 1. So that's right.
Listen, we have like every season we do get that from a lot of comics where they're like, oh, thanks, I'm on season. We've had some amazing comics every single season. It really is not like, the who's who and the whatever. It literally is 2 comics with ADHD who go, Brandon somebody. Let's get Brandon on, right? And then next
he's done some stuff.
Yeah.
It's also scheduling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Putting that out.
Who was your first guest that you had?
Ooh,
Joel?
good question.
No. Rhonda?
No, it was either Rhonda Corey or Joel Byers.
I think it was Joel.
Okay. From Atlanta.
Joel Byers.
Yeah.
It was either Rhonda or Joel. I feel like it was Joel because
he started
so
this.
we're part of the Hot Breath Comedy Network, which Joel created. And so I know we interviewed him.
So you put the boss as number 1. That's probably a good option.
Yeah. He either was the first or the last, or maybe both that season.
If you watched our video, they're in order.
Okay.
So just saying.
He doesn't listen. He's never listened to our podcast, so he's probably never watched our video.
But just now, didn't I have the video? Did I play the video? I'm pretty sure I played the video.
You did. You did play the video. Okay, let's get focused here.
All right,
Brandon, Laugh Support.
Yes.
So talk to us about, maybe how long you've been doing comedy, and then tell us about when you first got started. Who was the Laugh Support? Who were the people around you that encouraged you as you jumped into this crazy world of comedy?
Those people are all foolish for allowing me to start and continue. It's all on them. You should be blaming them. Now, I did my first open mic on June 6, 2006. I was visiting my brother in Oklahoma City. He was in the military at the time, in the Air Force. And he was actually doing stand-up comedy out there. And I'd been wanting to do stand-up pretty much my whole life. I just never had the courage or gumption. I was writing jokes in college and whatnot. But 2006, I went out and visited him. And we both did an open mic. And I did 4 minutes. I got one laugh in 4 minutes, and I was pretty much hooked after that. So a lot of my early time in comedy, I was working nights, so I couldn't get up a whole lot my first few years. But Laugh Support, I'd say my brother is probably my biggest support in the industry. He doesn't do comedy anymore, unfortunately, but I still run my jokes by him. We have a very similar sense of humor. He's a few years older than me. so I can trust him with the jokes I have. I had used some of his early jokes as well when he gave up, when he stepped aside from comedy rather. So I used some of his jokes that he wrote, and don't really do a whole lot of them now, but it's fun to collaborate with him. So he was a huge support for me, and I had some friends back in San Diego. As I'm originally from Michigan, but I started comedy technically in San Diego, except for that first open mic in Oklahoma City.
Yeah. Nice. So not too far from you, Michele, right?
No, not at all. Were you at the Looney Bin down there?
Yeah, I did that. That was the first open mic I did, was at Looney Bin. And I regret that it's closed now, right? Closed.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Oklahoma City, but the Looney Bin in Tulsa is open.
Yeah.
So
I always wanted to do at least feature at the Looney Bin in Oklahoma City. I just never submitted. So then it closed a little too late. Just kind of a bummer.
And what lesson do we learn from that?
You should always submit all the time. Never stop submitting.
There you go. Okay.
Lesson learned. Michele VanDusen's my new comedy support. So
yes.
And what are you going to do after we interview? You're going to send out how many more emails? You can do it.
I seriously, I needed you about 3 months ago. This summer, I've been the laziest I've ever been with comedy. It's
I took the summer off.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I'll say the same thing. I'll say the same thing. I do have a couple bookings in September, so hopefully I'll get back on that horse. Like, I haven't written anything. Yeah, it's been horrible. It really has. I moved to Charlotte about a little over a year ago. So I'm still trying to adjust to that scene. San Diego, I had San Diego down. I was very familiar with San Diego scene. In 2017, I actually moved back to Michigan for a couple of years. And then, so the Michigan scene's great. There's a lot of great comics out in Michigan. It's a lot of road gigs too, because the Midwest area, you can travel quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Not a whole lot of church stuff per se, but there's just definitely a lot of comedy in general, like one-nighters that paid pretty well. So those are always nice. And then I just haven't been adjusting to the Charlotte scene that well. There's a lot of open mics. There are quite a few. There's some book shows. I just don't think there's as many book shows as there are in other scenes that I've been in. So it's just been an adjustment to me. But it's also on me for not reaching out to those places, to the people who may know where the shows are.
Tip number 2. Sounds like you need to start opening up your own club. Okay.
Been there, done that. 2014, a buddy of mine, Dan Bublitz, he's out of Denver now, but he was in San Diego at the time. We opened up a small comedy club, Legends Comedy Club. We owned a company called Rising Legends Entertainment. So we opened a small comedy club in technically La Mesa, or Santee, California, inside of a country club in the little bar area there. They had a restaurant. So we ran a Friday and Saturday night show. There was only we could only start at 9:30. So we could only start like a late show. So we did one show Friday, one show Saturday. First couple months were great. And then it kind of fell off. I think we lasted about 6 months. We had some pretty decent names that came through at the time. Jen Kober was our first headliner. She's great. I love Jen. She's fantastic. Fed Zoltan, I think, was there. We actually had Taylor Tomlinson featuring back then before she got big. This is back when she was kind of working clean back in the day. We weren't a clean club, but we had we had a lot of good local talent that came through the San Diego area.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I think a lot of people, Michele encourages to open up a comedy club because she's never opened a comedy club.
Yeah, it's work. I tell you, especially if you don't have the money for it, it's with marketing is the hardest part.
I'm sorry, June Colson, but you clearly don't remember any of my things that I've said. I did an after-school comedy club for kids. So, like 5 years. So yeah, I did it. So there you go. Okay.
They're kids, so you didn't even have to pay them. So it's great.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, they had to close down because of child labor laws.
Oh,
but let's just be honest about it, Michele.
You just got out of prison a little bit ago, I heard. So yeah, that makes sense.
No, I think a lot.
Is that why she took the 3 months off in the summer because she was in prison for the?
I mean, that's what she called it, some time off. But I say time in. She did a little time in. I always say that I took time off when my schedule is empty. I always go, I'm taking a little break.
Yeah.
Not on purpose, not intentionally. I'm just, they're like, June, you got any shows coming up? And I'm like, no, I've decided to take a little break. I'm going to take a month or two off and, just collect myself and no paychecks because no one booked me. but I think it's it's none of their business, right?
On a not related note, I did get some lovely new anklet bracelets recently.
And you have to do a at-home comedy club for the next 6 months as well. So
that's right. Michele
really
can't leave her yard again.
Nice.
So okay, so you started your journey. Your brother was there.
Yep, 2006. Well, he was still living in Oklahoma City, but I'd still text. That's a good thing about technology is you can text people and get feedback pretty quickly. But I did have friends in San Diego. I didn't really have a whole lot of comic friends at the time because, like I said, I was working nights, so I could only get up to a few open mics at the time. And but about 2008, I lost my job at the time, which was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. And this is kind of a fun story. I lost my job. I'm not sure if anyone's ever lost their job this way or not, but I was text messaging my then girlfriend at the time using my company cell phone. And I racked up an $872 phone bill.
Oh.
And so I got let go from my job. And then a week later, she broke up with me. So there we go. It was great.
Yeah, because you didn't have a job anymore.
Yeah, correct. Except, but it was her fault. No, it was completely my fault. It was great because that's after that happened, I felt like I was like a low point. And that's when I started going back to church. I grew up going to church. When I went away to college, I kind of stepped away from the church. And then June 2008 is when I went back to church. And I actually started doing comedy more in 2009. 2009, I actually started a comedy ministry at our church at the time. So we were doing stand-up, sketch comedy, and improv. We were going to homeless shelters, convalescent homes, hospitals. Did a few fundraisers for victims of domestic violence, victims of human trafficking. So raised thousands of dollars for some great organizations. So that was kind of a good thing at that time, at least. So that's why I say losing my job in 2008 was one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Yeah. Well, and I think we found too that a lot of comedians, especially when you're a follower of Christ, there's that natural tendency to want to give to other people and use your gifts in a positive way. And I think, we say laugh support and we talk about who supported you, our guest, or who supported us. But we'd love to hear about a guest doing what you did and you used your comedy to support other people, right?
Yep. And it was great. That actually, with that comedy ministry, I got to meet my comedy mentor as well through that Christian comedy mentor, Jerry Minor. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Barnes and Minor at all. Amy Barnes and Jerry Minor, they do husband and wife, and they also do their own individual stand-up comedy as well. So Jerry had reached out to the church he was doing at the time, I think 2009, it was 2009 or 2010. He was doing a missions trip fundraiser. So he's actually raising money for his missionary friends. And he was also raising for host missionaries as well. And so we were able to help raise money for a friend of mine that was going on the I can't remember the name of it, but I think World Missions or something. It's like she went to 11 countries in 11 months. So we helped raise money for her as well as for Jerry's. So I think Jerry's doing half the money that came in went to the host organization and the other half went to his organizations that he was partnered with. So it was a really cool fundraiser. So I got to chat with him, and he had been doing comedy for a long time. He was on A&E Evening at the Improv back in the late 80s, I think, early 90s. He had won a few comedy contests, and so he was a great contact for me. I considered him a mentor for the longest time as well. So until I started getting my own foot in the door with other things. But yeah, Jerry's been great. He's a guy I'd reach out to when I had questions, and he's the guy that would shoot it straight. He wouldn't just, tiptoe around things. He would tell you how it is, which is what you need a lot of times, especially when you're kind of starting out in the industry.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was just wondering, did he ever do a fundraiser type thing for you to pay off that phone bill?
No, I didn't have to pay it back. That was a good thing about being fired, is I didn't have to pay that back.
That's good.
So.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. But I think Christmas, Michele gave me a gift, was a subscription to Masterclass and to different masterclasses that you could watch. And it made me think about when you said that there was, I think, a New York Times writer, somebody, I'm not exactly sure who the guy was, But his opening was, I feel sorry for people who aren't writers. And then he said, I really feel sorry for people who aren't comedy writers. And he said, because when a bad thing happens to you, it's just a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
But when a bad thing happens to us, it's a great story one day. so that is something that I think that's hilarious. It's not so funny at the time, but all of those things, do you talk about that on stage? Have you told that story?
That's the thing. There's a lot of things in my life that I don't talk about that I obviously should. That's one of them. And the other thing, another huge thing in my life, I used to have a really bad gambling problem.
Mm-hmm.
I had owed at one point in the late 2000s, 2000 aughts, I had owed two bookies about $20,000.
Mm.
And that was real fun. And thankfully, my now wife, who I met at church, a good place to meet a woman, and she had really good credit, and I obviously had really horrible credit. So she was able to take out a loan. And I talked to the bookies. I go, hey, if I can pay you this amount of money, can we wipe the slate clean? And they said, sure. And we took that money out and took care of that debt. So thankfully, I've got all my fingers, all my toes.
Good. That was my next question.
Yeah, I've got all those. We got all four fingers on my right hand, and
which is why he chewed his fingernails. He's very stubborn.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, if they're going to take a finger, they don't get the whole finger. He's
I'm keeping these nails. I have a jar that I keep my nails in. And it's just and another jar that I have the toe jam in. That's how that works.
So, Brandon, it sounds like you've had a pretty good support system along the way to, for the first time doing an open mic, for your brother to be present there, to have him as somebody that you can run material off of, to have a mentor, to have an amazing wife that you met through church. But I wonder, talking about the stories about gambling and losing the girlfriend and all of that, has there been times that you felt like you didn't have support, or Brandon Planet?
I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have my wife. Obviously, that was kind of a weird conversation. We went for a walk, and I told her about my gambling problem. We had just kind of started dating at the time, and we were only dating for about 9 months before we got married. The solid Christian relationship, that 9 months of dating. And anyway, so I remember going for a walk with her one time, and I was like, I've got to tell her about this problem I have. We'd only been dating for a couple months. And I was like, hey, I've got to tell you something. So instantly she thought I was cheating on her. That's usually the first.
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, no, I just got a really bad gambling problem. I owe a couple dudes $20,000. I'm not cheating on you. I just have really horrible decision-making skills. So, But so she was like, okay, all right, we'll figure it out. And then, we got married, and she's like, hey, let's just try to wipe this slate clean. Can you talk to them about paying this off? And I'm like, yes. So I talked to them, and they were like, yeah, if you can give me, $5,000, $10,000, whatever it is, I'll take it. Doesn't hurt them at all. So
right.
Took that money. But yeah, I haven't, if I didn't have my wife, I don't know where I'd be right now with that situation. Cause I wasn't like, I had lost my job, and I was working at a job as a temp after I lost my job. I think I was making $13 an hour or something like that. And there's no way you can pay off $20,000 in debt plus live in San Diego, California, $13 an hour, and comedy at that time wasn't like my first comedy paid gig. I think was 2009. It was at the now closed Comedy Palace in San Diego, which is now Mic Drop Comedy, owned by New People. And the first gig I got paid $33. It's my first paid gig. No, I take that back. I'm sorry. My first paid gig was $11. They did a tip bucket at the end of the show, and people put money in, and they split the money amongst all the comics. So I got $11. I went up again a month on that same show a month later, and then that's when I made $33. So I was like, well, I make 3 times as much every time I do comedy. It's gonna be great. And I think that was all the money I made that year. But yeah,
Michele wouldn't even let her kids have tip jars. She wouldn't even let the children at the child labor. Yeah. Not even a tip jar, Brandon.
Well, she kept the money herself as a good.
I'm hoping I can make $33 or $34 this year. So, yeah. So
with inflation now, $33 back in 2009 is probably like $38 now.
ooh,
Maybe 39.
oh, that'd be great. Man, I hope so.
So Randy, do you have a do you have a preference as far as, so it sounds like you do comedy, you do it in clubs, you do
I do it
fundraisers,
everywhere.
you do churches,
I prefer churches. I don't know. I found them to be the best crowds for me, for my style of comedy, at least. I've had some bad church shows. Don't get me wrong. I've had some really good church shows though too. But I've done comedy everywhere. Coffee shops. Like I said, I did comedy at convalescent homes. At homeless shelters. I've done comedy pretty much anywhere you can do it, for the most part. I've done comedy in a prison before. Michele wasn't there, thankfully, but it was an all-men prison, so she wasn't there. But that was really fun. Actually, I think it was one of the prisons where they're almost on their way out, so they're kind of adjusting to going, like, there's vocational schools and things like that at that prison. So a lot of the guys were on their way out of prison at the time. So that was just a really fun gig. And I think, so I went with one of the pastors at the church at the time. And I can't remember how many people raised their hand to dedicate their lives to Christ, which was just awesome. Because it was me, the comics were me and Lisa Gilbert were the comics.
Yeah.
And Lisa's great. She's out of San Diego too. She owes her whole career to me. She'll tell you the whole thing.
I gotta have Lisa on.
So you've been Lisa's laugh support. 100%.
I was early on. I got her to get up on stage because she's a funny person in general. Mm-hmm. Really, really good human being. So I was doing comedy and she was asking me some things. I'm like, hey, let's just get you up on stage. So I think we did a show, and I'm trying to remember first show. I think Taylor was featuring. I think we had Taylor Tomlinson featuring for Amy Barnes. I think Amy Barnes was going out there, and I think we had Lisa host. Lisa did some time up top and hosted. So. And she's been crushing it.
Yeah.
Crushing it.
Yeah. We haven't had her on.
She's a season 6 guest. I wouldn't have her anything prior to season 5. I would just highly recommend season 6 for her. I mean,
okay. All right.
You don't want her head to get any bigger than it already is.
This is
what I'm hearing is we're going to have a 6th season.
Yes. So. Yeah. And Lisa's going to be your only guest on season 6. So.
She's that big that'll be it. We don't even need more. We just need one guest.
10
Lisa Gilbert on here, and we're done.
Just Lisa, she's got triplets, so you can.
Yes.
You get your material. Like, I don't have any kids, so I could like make up a kid, But
Michelle's got kids that work for her. If you just need one to act for you or do comedy for you, she could probably hire one out for you.
We're good. No, we actually, my wife was pregnant a couple of years ago, and unfortunately had a miscarriage. We were actually going to name our son Colson as well. So,
really, really,
not after you, but
okay.
Well, that was exciting. Thanks for bringing that up. That was like woo, and then wait, what? That was just a sad story all around.
Well, there's actually it's not actually named after anyone, but I just really like the name Colson. I'm a huge White Sox fan. There's a minor league player for the White Sox, Colson Montgomery.
Yes.
So
that's 2 strikes, Brandon.
Nope.
First, you're all about, I don't like milkshakes with, French fries in it, right? You do a whole special and all that, right? And now you're saying you like the White Sox?
Oh, yeah. I like the worst team in baseball. You got to remember.
What's wrong with the Cubs?
Cubs are horrible. My wife actually just got a new job, and her boss is somehow related to one of the owners of the Cubs.
Oh, wow.
So, I told my wife to quit on day 1, but she didn't listen. She never listened.
My son is a big Cubs fan, and we actually said when he played baseball, so you know they'll call you by your last name or first name or whatever. So my son is Ty Colson, and then we had a Ty Stringfield, and then we had a Colson Elkins. And so they would, if they said Ty, multiple kids would look. If they said Colson, then you had Colson who was listening, and my son Colson. And so it was the most confusing thing. Then they put in the lineup Ty and then Ty behind Ty. So when they were younger, they'd be like, go Ty, go. And the other, so they would be running over the top of each other. They have no idea which Ty they're talking to. But Colson has become, I don't know a lot of kids named Colson, but it's definitely become, a more common boy name. So so sorry to hear that. My family kind of went through that journey, and we lost two to miscarriage. And so I definitely know what that's like. And talk about support. We talk about life support, but life support for sure is, to be there.
Yeah, thankfully we've got a lot of good, close friends in our lives that supported us through that journey. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of my friends, she talked about how God ministered to her when she lost her baby, and basically he just reassured her that I am raising your child now. You're okay. Your baby's fine. You're going to be okay. Like, it was one of those things, like, now that, and I just thought that was a beautiful picture of what is to come. Like, we're living our life now here on earth, but at some point our life will end, and then we'll get to be with Jesus. Whereas their child is with Jesus,
yeah, he's
and is
already
being
there.
raised by, like, that's a whole different, they get to grow up in heaven. It's just, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see when we get there.
Yeah.
I'll have a brother or sister up there, so that'll be kind of neat to meet.
Yeah, this is the somber portion of the show. About 35 minutes in is when it really just tearjerker is really when it.
Yeah. Well, when you're in prison, it's hard to.
You know how many times Michelle's been shanked in the past 3 months? You have no idea.
Yeah.
She could be up right now if she didn't heal quickly. So they're calling her Wolverine for healing.
That's right. As far as life support, like our merch, when we do a tour, we're definitely selling her carvings of soap. Yeah. They're immaculate. Yeah. You should. It's super exciting.
It's really interesting merch.
We've gone off the rails.
No, I don't know where this conversation went. Anyway, Jerry Miner's a really good guy, and so is Lisa Gilbert. And my brother's pretty cool too. My wife's great. Love her. Get back on track here.
That's right. Lots of support. Well, I told you beforehand, we let the conversation go organically. And honestly, you never know who's listening.
Oh, yeah.
And what I love is that, honestly, like, as far as life support goes, we you don't know who's going to be listening to this podcast who feels like maybe they've been the only person who's gone through that journey, right?
Yeah.
And
we're not the only people who've ever had a miscarriage. So it's unfortunately, I mean, I don't know if it'd be great if we were, but yeah.
But yeah, I think reality-wise is people think when you're a comedian that life is all fun and games and laughter and those type of things. And there is difficulties that we go through, as I just talked about. A bad situation can make for a great story later. But then there are also some things that it's just never going to be a laughing matter. And I think that's one of those things. But people have been able to do comedy about gambling, about alcoholism, sex addiction, drug addiction, those type of things, and find a way to reach people and give people hope through laughter. And I think, that it's good. It's good that it was great that you were honest with this person that you were dating, because you were able to start your relationship in a place that you didn't have to go back to and mend. You were able to be real about where you were at. And I guess she is, as far as comedy goes, super supportive of you and your comedy journey now.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that. I've wanted to quit so many times, and she's like, right. No, you can't quit. So she's the one keeping me in this industry. So you guys can all thank her. So yeah, it would be interesting though if I never told her and we still got married. We share a checking account, so she'd probably be like, "Who's this Bill Stevens guy? Why do you keep saying that's not his real name?
Right.
Why do you keep sending this guy $1,000 every check?" I'm like, I don't know.
Might as well start out honest, right?
Yeah, you got to be honest about everything that happens. So.
Yeah. Well, Brandon, we so appreciate you being on here with us. Tell us really quick the name of your Dry Bar Comedy special. Michelle's going to run across at the bottom of the screen. And so when you finish telling us about Dry Bar, I will let people know how they can find you on social media and your website and all of that.
Great. It is called Chicken Gone. It is my best joke that actually happened. True story. So you guys can check out Chicken Gone at Dry Bar Comedy. You can check it out on YouTube. If you watch the YouTube video, make sure you watch the ads as well, because that's how us Dry Bar comics get a lot of our money. So if you could do that, that'd be very appreciative. Also share it on social media as well. That'd be great. So you can check out Brandon Young, Chicken Gone. Check me out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. I don't do the TikTok. I don't do TikTok. I'm a 43-year-old man, so I don't do TikTok. I'm barely on Instagram, but you check me out. You'll see them all scroll on the bottom.
I love that that's the disclaimer. I'm a 43-year-old man. I'm a 49-year-old woman, and I have TikTok. So,
well, you're a woman. It's excusable. I'm going to get misogynistic here. Yeah, 43-year-old men shouldn't be on TikTok unless they're making a lot of money. Then, yes, go right ahead. I didn't make any money, so go right ahead. Do all the things.
Yep.
Pay off your gambling somehow.
You said it's chicken gone.
Chicken gone.
So I have a question for you. How do chickens get away in a hurry?
Brandon, don't ask her. Don't
ask. You should watch the video and you can see what the story is about. There's a short.
Wrong. They scramble away.
Oh, that's an egg joke.
Yeah.
A chicken joke.
Yeah. Oh,
I tried to warn you. It happens every episode.
Okay.
That has to be the best response we've ever had. Just a sigh and.
Your prison material is a lot better than what that was, so we can just work on. There it is.
For our listeners, Michele legit just posted up a picture of her in a prison uniform, a full-on prison uniform, women's prison. Okay, for the record, she's an actor, and that was a film that she was in.
Sure. Sure it was.
Oh my goodness. I'm not going to tell you that place that I met Michele at the first open mic may have been the local penitentiary. Maybe. I don't know. Brandon, thank you so much for being on our podcast. We definitely encourage people, y'all, check out Chicken Gone. Check out his Dry Bar comedy special. You can find Brandon on Instagram at Be Young Comedy. Also on X and YouTube is Brandon Young Comedy. Brandon is with an O-N, BrandonYoungComedy.com.
Right way to spell it.
Do I say it again?
That's the right way you spell Brandon.
That is that's the correct way. If you spell Brandon any other way, you are wrong. So, so Brandon with an O-N. Y'all check him out. Brandon, thank you again for being on Laugh Support. Michele's going to kick you to the backstage for a few minutes, and we're going to close this puppy out. VanDusen, I can't believe you're always so working behind the scenes. When you came up with your prison picture, I forgot all about that. That is too funny. So yeah, for our listeners who are just listening, make sure you check that out on YouTube, which, by the way, you can find Laugh Support on Facebook, Laugh Support Podcast on Instagram, and you can watch this episode on YouTube if you're listening to us right now. And if you're watching, we're on all major podcast platforms, so you can listen to us when you're on the go as well. A tip of the week this week, Michele.
Oh, yep.
Do you have that? We'll pop that
June's
up real quick.
tip of the week.
June's tip of the week. This is how ADHD I am. I tell her right before, and then I have already forgotten, so I have to wait. What is it? Don't panic. Don't panic. Oh, okay. Don't panic. Listen, when you get around a celebrity, someone as famous as Michele VanDusen, don't panic. Okay, be cool, people. Be cool. I was recently with a friend, and someone famous came into the room, and they started out so chill, having a regular conversation, and then something in their brain switched. And they went a whole different direction because they just got so excited and felt like this might be the only person I ever get to talk to, or only time I ever get to talk to this person. Within seconds of that celebrity walking away, my friend approached and went, I don't know why I just did what I did. Why did I do what I did? I was having a normal conversation, and then I just switched. And I lost my mind for a minute, and I saw their face just drop. They were like, oh, nice to meet you. And then suddenly it was like, oh. So if you find yourself in that space, when you get around someone, like I said, as famous as Michele and others like her, just be cool. Just relax. Those folks are just like anybody else. I know we all kind of have a somebody that we think, man, I would love to meet that person. But the reality is I got to see my friend in real time go from like so excited to meet someone to like so embarrassed because they just went sideways. So whatever you do, there's no one better than you. God created you just as special as that other person. So relax and just be you, and that's enough. Okay, so that's you can follow me, Junebug, at Junebug Comedy on pretty much all platforms, junebugcomedy.com. If you want to find me on my website, make sure you follow Michele VanDusen. It's Michele with one L, all right, and it's at Michelle's Comedy on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And MicheleVanDusen.org is her website. And also, the Laugh Support Podcast is on all of those platforms too. So make sure that you check us out on Instagram and on Facebook, and that you're following us on YouTube. Like us, subscribe. Okay. All right.
Subscribe.
As I always say, Jesus and Junebug loves you. And Michele, close it out, my friend.
Okay. I'm going to close it out with this one because we just
Please
had
don't
Brandon
do another
Young on.
joke. Don't do it.
Hey, what did the chicken do when the traffic light turned green?
What, Michele?
Well, chicken gong because it accelerated. What? Thanks for listening. Thanks for laughing and listening to the Laugh Support Podcast. We'll catch you the next time. Until then, bye-bye.